Hello and welcome to Wisdom and Productivity, the podcast of Dr. Efraín Martinez. I am a principal in search of wisdom, and I have found productivity to be a great tool for success. Today, I have the great and distinguished honor of interviewing Dr. Ana Gil Garcia, who is a Venezuelan-American citizen, professor emerita, esteemed community leader, forerunning advocate for Latino educational leaders, five-time Fulbright US Scholar, and a published author that earned academic and administrative experiences from classroom teaching, acting superintendent, college department chair, and associate provost of academic affairs. Currently, the executive director of academic effectiveness at St. Augustine College in Chicago. For me, most importantly, every interaction I've had with Ana Gil Garcia, she has been the kindest, most helpful, and I am very grateful to have her as my friend. Dr. Ana Gil Garcia, who are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So good to see you, Efrain. Yeah, so
Thank you.
now I have to say, Dr. Efrain, which really you're right. I'm very honored. I'm very proud of you. Just
Thank you.
meeting you many years ago, and I know you work in the community, and I really am very proud. Just the level that you have reached. I think you deserve my
Well,
So
I
who I
appreciate it.
am, it's very easy to ask the question, but it's very difficult, in a few minutes to tell you who I am. Well, my name is Ana Gil Garcia. I was born in Margarita Island. It's a Venezuelan territory. I always said that, just being born in an island makes me safe,
Mm,
even though, because everything that happened, sometimes it happened in mainland, and many, very few happen in the island. So I'm the oldest of 8 siblings. I have 6 sisters and 2 brothers. And I'm the mother of two, and I have a granddaughter. So her name is Mila, and she's the light of my life right now.
ah, beautiful. And tell us about Margarita Island. I think you are the first person I hear about Venezuela having an island as a possession. And me coming from the island of Puerto Rico, a possession of the
Right.
United States, I wonder about Margarita Island. What can we learn?
Right. I always said that Puerto Ricans, Cubans, people from Dominican Republic, that we come from islands. I think that we have many things in common. One of the things that we have in common is that we speak very loud. Okay, that we like to laugh, and I think it has to do with the wave of disease. Because you don't really listen to the wave of disease, but if you think about, the whole island, they have that sound, and then we have really to talk louder than anybody else just to overcome that sound of the sea. And that was research, by the way. I
Yeah,
remember
wow.
that I read that in the scientific journal,
Mm.
and I said, wow, that makes sense. That's a good reason for me to just to justify how loud I am. So Margarita Island is part of the Venezuelan territory. There are 3 islands together, and they are one state. The state is called Nueva Esparta State. Is less, the in terms of population is smaller than Puerto Rico. But it's very historical because one of the first places that Cristobal Colon came, he really came to the island before going to Cumana in the mainland.
Mm.
Um, the island is a tax-free shop island. So we really have there wherever we want, or used to, because the prosperity of the country was also part of the prosperity of the island, right?
Makes sense.
But that's the island in which people will come for vacations. Um, Children, once they are out of the school, mom, we're going to Margarita. Okay, because we have different type of beach. We have wave, we have very calm. And the Margariteño, who is who I am, we are very friendly people, and we are always just wanted to know more about you and how to help you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Learning something new every day. So, Anna, can you walk us through your professional trajectory up to this
Wow.
point?
Okay, I'm going to go from the island to, in the island, I went to my elementary school and high school. And because we have only one higher education institution in the island, like many other people that I really wanted to be a teacher. That was really my main, and of course, the island was very, um, we didn't have the education as a profession in that university. So I went to Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. I went to the first teachers college in Latin America, the Instituto Pedagógico de Caracas, was founded by using a French model of education. That was that teachers college um, uh, became one of the most one of the icons really in education in Latin America, and believe it or not, these founders of the science school of the Universidad Central de Venezuela, which is one of the main universities in the country, they all came from the Pedagógico de Caracas.
Wow.
So and then from there, I was biology, two majors, biology and chemistry.
Ooh.
So that's my roots in science, and so to teach in secondary schools. Um, then I came to the United States for my master degree in curriculum and instruction. I went to University of Tennessee at Martin. So Venezuela has one of the largest scholarship in the world, and during the presidency of Carlos Andres Perez, during the democracy, we there was 50,000 people that went overseas in different universities in Europe and the United States, because Venezuela, most universities, they have some of them they have master degrees, and some of them very few, PhDs. So I came for my master degree, went to Cleveland, Ohio first for my English as a second language. I went to the Case Western Reserve University,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, um, complete my degree. Went back home, and once I was there, I went back to school in Venezuela and to do my EDS. So I have an EDS in middle school curriculum.
Mm.
So after that, 8 years later, I saw this scholarship being announced that was called Fulbright. And I said, I don't know what Fulbright is. The only thing that I know is that this is a scholarship. And I applied because I really wanted to do my doctoral degree.
Mm-hmm.
So there was only one per country,
Oh
okay, one
boy.
scholarship, right? So, and I
Wow.
applied, and there was I competed with 11 more. This is an anecdote that I'm going to tell you. I went
Please.
to the interview process, and then there was two people from Harvard. There was, people from the embassy, and because the scholarship the Fulbright scholarship that I was applying for was something that is called LASPAO. LASPAO is the Fulbright for Latin America,
Mm.
and Harvard University is the administrator of that scholarship. So I went into my interview, and I said, and they said, we noticed that. Have you noticed that this is a scholarship for somebody that doesn't have a master degree, because this is a scholarship only for a master degree. And I said to them, I look at all of them, and I said, but I have a plan, and I'd like to propose you my plan. they,
Wow.
were, they were laughing, okay, they laugh, and they say, do you have a plan? I say, yeah, if you allow me to go, if you allow me to, I will go. I will use those 2 years for my coursework. I will come back. I will work in my dissertation here in the country, and then I will go back, and I will, presenting my dissertation, my work But I'm going to tell you, maybe I will get a doctoral associateship. They laughed and they said, no, this is for a master's degree. And I said, but they are excellent candidates outside. There are 10 of them. They all deserve, this scholarship. So say goodbye, whatever. That was December. February 3rd, my birthday. I got a phone call from American Embassy and they said, Anna, do you still have that plan that you proposed? I said, yes, I do. By that time, I was married. And by that time, my husband didn't know that. And I say yes without even asking him, without even telling him, Elisa, we're going to the United States. So, but then, they funded with a Fulbright.
Wow.
And I went to Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, one of the best places that I have been. I was able to raise my kids there in a middle-sized city, and I have very fond memories of my time in Kalamazoo. So that's really the way. And then I went back home because the Fulbright demands that once you finish, then you have to go back and stay in your home for at least 2 years without coming back to the United States. Because it's supposed to be you're supposed to be a brain that is going back, to offer the knowledge. So that happened. I have to say that after in those 2 years that I remained in the country, I was a university professor. And not only that, I became an associate provost. I was a chair. But before getting into the university, I was called by the Minister of Education, and they needed to have an interim superintendent for one of the largest school districts in the country. And they needed to have somebody with a master's degree at least, or with a doctoral degree. And of course, I qualified that time by that. So I was in that interim position for 8 months. I'm going to tell you one thing, Ephraim. I admired the superintendent. That would not be my thing. That was extremely hard for me, because in our countries, the political, not the political system, we politicize many, many things, even the friendships. People really are looking for you because they needed a position from you. Because, that's my wife. And so a politician, a senator will call you and say, we're going on vacation and I need you to give me a permission, a leave of absence for my wife. So things like that. Yeah. So by the 8th month, with all my respect, Minister, I can't do this any longer. And I have 210 schools.
Wow.
That was an extremely large.
Yeah.
I went to very remote areas in a helicopter from the Army.
Wow.
Just to check on the schools. There was one room of schools, and I have military schools, and I have, some municipalities, schools. So I learned my lesson. And from that point, I learned how to respect the superintendent, the principals, because they really are the heroes in my life.
Wow.
Yeah. From that point, when I came back when I came to Chicago, I was in the process of, I divorced, and then I got this. The Western Michigan University invited me to be a visiting professor for 1 year, and I accepted. I came to teach at the doctoral program. I was teaching research and analysis and data analysis, and then I was teaching at the PhD program. So my chairperson that became my mentor later, Dr. Jim Thompson, he every day he was, Anna, would you like to try and see how marketable you are? I said, Dr. Thompson, I have my position in Venezuela. I have my family there. I have no interest to. And then he said, you need to try how marketable you are. Listen who you are. You have a doctoral degree. You are a female. You are a Latina. You're bilingual. I mean, what else do you think the institutions want? They want a person like you.
Wow, wow. It's
And
good to
then,
have people
and
to
then
encourage
he
you. Mhm.
uh, Efrain, he cut the clips from the Chronicle of Higher Education. And he put 9 clips on my desk. And I said, I'm going to have to do this because other than that, I don't think I'm going to be able to leave the country. I mean, this guy. So, and I applied and I left. So sooner than later, I got out of 9 applications, I had 6 interviews. They flew me in here to back to the United States. I interviewed in 4 because I said, oh no, I don't. There was those traveling. They were paying for everything. They brought me here, and then I ended up selecting Northeastern Illinois University, where I spent 26 years of my career. And I chose Chicago. And I have to tell you, there was no money that brought me here. I had better offers in some other universities, but I saw in Northeastern people like me.
Mhm.
And for me, just getting up every day, waking up and feeling that I was welcome in that organizational environment, that was something that I appreciated. That later on, once you retire, you realize that, well, I should have gone to another major university offering me more than $100,000, but I never did that. I I I retired with a very limited retirement, but happy. I met people like you. You came to my
Mhm.
classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and many people in Chicago. I was able to graduate in Chicago. Um, I mean, more than 100 principals. Um, and at the beginning I was very intentional in my leadership, because I kept seeing those numbers in Chicago, very low numbers in Latino principals, and I said, "This is something is wrong. The city doesn't look like this." So, and that was when I decided to say, "No, I'm going to intentionally to recruit," and that's what I did. I and that's probably what I know too many people in
Yeah.
Chicago, because once you know one principle, you know many.
Absolutely. You know all of them. We are so
Yeah,
very
right now,
few.
then in COVID, I retired in 2019. I retired at the end of 2019 with 2 purposes. One, to enjoy my granddaughter. She was a baby, 6 months old. And then to go back to my island, because my mother is 95 right now. And, by that time she was 93. I said, this is the time that I'm going to enjoy my mom. We have great conversations, and I was all the time her reference. My father left her when with 8 kids, and my mother
Wow.
was able to survive, as I said. And we are right now 8 professionals, but that's my mom.
Wow.
So
Wow.
then I was in COVID, in the middle of COVID, and I got a phone call from San Augustine College. They said, the president said to me, your name has been um, recommended by the board of trustees. There are 3 people in my board of trustees that say that you now it seems like you retired. I said, yes, I did. I retired. I said, we are going in this transition between the in-person into virtual,
Mhm.
and we really need some help. And I said, okay, doctor, what are you doing right now? And I said, like anybody else in this planet, nothing. Nothing. And then he said, okay, could you? And I said, but I'm going to be there only for 3 months, okay? I said, because in 3 months, the pandemic will be over. So I've been in San Agustin since then, since the year 2020. I'm the executive director of academic effectiveness. That's the quality assurance of the institution.
Mhm.
I do the accreditation of the institution. Um, as I always said, the boring things that somebody has to do. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes, people who are in accreditation, since you are constantly evaluating the institution, you kind of become the police officer of the academic in the institution, right?
Mm,
And people may not like it that, but I need to make sure that everything that we do with quality.
for sure. Wow. Let's try to peel back that onion. Um, what was one thing or the first thing that comes to mind when you remember moving from Margarita Island to Caracas?
Oh my God, I have to say that when you go to Caracas, to the capital, the first thing is the family. Your family was something like, where? Where are you going? Caracas. No, you can go there. That's too big. So for them, the city really represented the dangerous, or something like, no, you can be exposed to that. And I said, well, but that's where I want to go. So my mother said, I remember when I was leaving my house, she said, I'm the only one supporting you. Nobody else is in agreement with you leaving for Caracas. And I said, Mom, I will take those words. And I did. Yeah.
That's yeah. That sometimes we have to take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to go for education of all the professions?
My grandmother, Anna, from my father's side, she was a fifth generation of an Indian tribe in the island. And one of the things that she did for her hometown, where I was born, I was the only one who was born in Boca del Pozo, a very, very tiny town. My mother was a nurse in there. And so, uh, she used to teach the catechism.
Ah,
She was very, very interested in having all those children coming to her home, and then teaching them the rosary, but she was more interested in that they needed to read.
mm,
And that was really behind that. Teaching the catechism was a way for her to teach reading.
makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think by the way, and the first teacher that came to that town, he slept. She provide housing for him,
Wow.
and he slept in a hamaca, in a hammock,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And he was coming to that town only twice a week, and she was the one who made possible for him to come. I think I am a teacher from my heart. I think I inherited, that. I think I've been teaching not because I have to teach, is because I just want to teach. So I started my biology career in Margarita Island. I went for one semester to Universidad de Oriente for marine biology, and I realized sooner than later that I didn't want to be in a lab. I really wanted to teach biology. So, and that was the reason that I decided to leave, because that was really what I wanted. I just wanted to teach. I was always the la maestra of my siblings,
Oh, where are you?
all the time. And then my mother gave me that role when I was coming from Caracas for my vacation in the island. She would say, "Okay, um, please check in every one of your sisters and your brothers how they are doing in the school." So I sat down in my, around the table, and I was going one by one. Okay, show me your card, the report card. Why are you doing so low here? Why are you, just, I did that because my
Wow.
mother was alone, by
Sure.
that time, and she saw in me somebody that was going to help her. And that's what I did.
Beautiful.
Now, believe it or not, I have another sister whose name is Anna, and she's also a teacher, and she's a retired principal. right?
Wow.
The
Wow.
Tuanas became teachers.
Interesting. So you have been a Fulbright scholar 5 times.
Mhm.
Which one is the most memorable Fulbright experience?
I was a Fulbright in Armenia, um, in the European and Eastern European countries. I was a Fulbright in Armenia. Yerevan, the capital, um, has always remained in my heart. Um, People in Yerevan, people in Armenia look like me. I was a Fulbright in the Republic of Georgia, another a country from the former Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful people. Um, I was a Fulbright in the Middle East, and I became hooked, as we said, in the Middle East. So I went to, I spent time in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. I spent time in Kuwait, and I spent time in Qatar. I know how those countries look like from the beginning to the explosion of that they have now, because I was there, from the beginning of those developments. Um, so, but and then I went to Africa. I went to Liberia, and when I went to Liberia, that was I went to the only community college, Grand Bassa Community College, in a small town called Buchanan. When I got there to that town, I realized that electricity was going to be off after, in the morning, to the afternoon, and then
Wow.
the electricity was coming back at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So all that I have planned to do, because I was going there invited as a Fulbright specialist, to develop curriculum uh, for the college and to train faculty. Ephraim, I realized that what you plan is not really what happened, right? And when you were planning for a PowerPoint and you were planning for this and that, I said, I'm so glad that I brought with me markers. All my markers, I always travel with them, by the way, with my markers, and I have post-it notes, and I have things like that, because nothing that I had in mind was going to,
Wow.
didn't happen. But I went through my Fulbright post. I was the only female in the room. Everybody was a male. That was very recent in the whole country has gone through Ebola. People were telling me when I was leaving for Liberia, "Are you crazy?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, but I think
We'll
I can
figure
help.
out.
I think I can help." So and I went. Um, so I have, in doing my training. Of course, I use a lot of paper, and being a teacher is the most creative profession in this
Amen.
planet.
Amen.
So I'm going to tell you, you cannot be creative with a patient when you are in the operation room. You
Mhm.
cannot be creative, if you are an engineering that is building a bridge, right? But you
Yes.
can be creative in the middle of a lesson in the school, in your classroom, when you see that something is not going well and the children are not responding the way that you wanted them to respond. Immediately you switch, and then that's the creativity of a teacher.
Yes.
This is the most wonderful profession in this planet, because
Amen.
you really can make those changes immediately. You will not wait until tomorrow, because there is no tomorrow for children to learn.
Amen. Well said, Anna. Thank you so much for sharing those experiences. If you haven't, I encourage you
But I'm going to tell
to
you,
yeah.
Liberia was
Hmm.
my favorite one,
Hmm.
because I I I I I, I really think that I did what I was expecting to do, right?
Wow.
And the other places, wonderful people. Um, I enjoy food, and I enjoy. I was a visiting professor in Cairo, American University,
Cairo.
Cairo, for 2 years, and I live in this magnificent city. And I believe that I was born in Egypt some time ago, okay, because I look Egyptian. I was there during the revolution. I was there during the Arab Spring. And I'm gonna tell you, I took the Egyptian flag in my hand. I took my camera and here, and I went to the Tahrir Square where all these millions of people gathered. And I took pictures without speaking because I said, if I speak, they will
Well,
know that
no.
I don't know any, the Arabic language.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I said.
Wow.
I took pictures and they were posing for me. And
Incredible. Incredible. Now that I think about it, you can certainly be confused with an Egyptian. No doubt
yes.
about him. So, like in Back to the Future, if you could go back in time, what would the Anna of today tell the Anna of back then?
First of all, I wish I could have learned how to manage my time. Okay. The time management. It is easy to find yourself loving more your job than your family moments, not your family moments. Particularly in my role as a woman, right? Your children will never, they will always remind you about those times that you missed with them, about those times that I was not able to be here with them. So they will tell you that. So I wish I could have done things differently, with my time. The other one that I believe that definitely it's something that I learned with my age is to take care of myself. I wish I could have taken care of myself first. Using the oxygen principle of the airplane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, put your mask first, and then help the person that is next to you. That's true. I wish I could have put my mask first and then just helping the other one. But I helped the other one and then I put my mask later. Um, I don't complain. I don't regret. But if I had done that many years ago, I should have done that in that direction. Taking care of myself first.
Well,
That has to do with my mental health, and that's really what I always tell the younger generation of teachers and principals. And I say, just make sure that you take your time and you take care of yourself.
that is a great advice that everybody says, but many few people
Many people
do.
they don't do right.
Beautiful. Um, let's continue with, let's talk about books. As you
Hmm.
know, reading is such a luxury, and now with digital books and audio, it has amplified the opportunities to read. If you have to gift two books, one fiction and one nonfiction, to a loved one, which books will those be?
Oh my God, one book that a fiction book. I was walking in the streets of Buenos Aires, and one of the places that I love to visit when I'm still the book person. I need to touch a
Yeah.
book. um, and I always stop by bookstores.
Mhm.
And I saw in the window all these books of the same author, and it was called La Sombra del Viento, The
Oh,
Shadow of the Wind. This is the writer is Carlos Ruiz Zafón.
Saffron. Hmm.
Yeah, and there is actually there is a trilogy, because there are three books. But the first book that he wrote was this one, the La Sombra del Viento. I said, wow, I'm going to buy this book because my flight from Buenos Aires to Chicago is going to be very long, and that happened. I've been in Chicago 28 years, um, and I said, this could be a good reading, um, and maybe I will fall asleep. I
Wow.
didn't. I took that book and I was, oh my God, oh my God, oh, this is, yeah, this is that was in 2001. He published this novel in
Hmm.
2001. The book became a bestseller 15 million copies sold. The novel is actually within a story, okay? Because it was in the 1940s. I remember the protagonist was Daniel, and his father invited him to go to a cemetery of books, and then and he has to go like under. It was like a labyrinth,
Yeah.
and he realized that he was in this labyrinth of books, but he was very attracted by this book that he took on his hand and was, the La Sombra del Viento. Everything happened in Barcelona, in Spain. And by the way, there is a walking tour that will take you in Barcelona to
Ah,
all the places that La Sombra del Viento takes you, when you are reading. So this is the type of books that that I actually, after that, I was recommending that book everywhere, everywhere, everyone, until then the second one came,
mhm.
and then a third one. So, but that book really was one of those books that I would recommend. The
Yeah.
Shadow of the Wind, the La Sombra del Viento. That book. I thought, to tell you the truth, that Carlos Ruiz Zafón, in sometimes, he could have won the literature Nobel Prize,
Mm,
because he has been a candidate several times,
I
but
see.
an excellent writer.
Wow.
My nonfiction book is Reframing Leadership.
Okay.
Bolman and Deal. Um, Lee Bolman. The first time that I came across this book was when Lee Bolman was working in Harvard University, and he created just a pamphlet. That was, a few pages, something put together. Uh, and then I was in Caracas, Venezuela. I was invited by the American embassy. They invited provost and an assistant provost and whatever, and I was part of that. And the trainer that came from Harvard was using the reframing leadership. And that was when I learned those principles. And for me was, wow, that really makes a lot of sense. That really makes a lot of sense that we have four different type of organizations. The symbolic organizations, that the analogy is a temple, a church, which really meaning is really what has meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the structural frame that really recreate these organizations as a factory, and in which if you have 100 Coca-Cola cans, you will get this amount of money at the end, because it's very straightforward, very linear. And then you have the human resources, which is a family oriented. So for principles learning every child's name, that's part of the human resources frame,
Yeah,
right?
for
And
sure.
then you have the political frame, something that we can escape, because the political frame is a jungle, according to Bolman and Deal. And then in the principalship, I know that you has to be a politician sometimes. You has to bargain with people. You has to negotiate. You know that better than I do, Efrain, because that's really what that all those pieces
It's a chess game.
exactly. All those four pieces put it together create a good organizational environment. And if you and all those principles are also applied to the leadership aspect. So you could be a leader who is structural, and you could move according to, and I don't want to say according to the situation, because I because then we will go into another theory. But you can move really with some actions, leadership actions, into a symbolic, and then, because the balance of those four frames is really what makes the organizations unique.
Makes a lot of sense. Beautiful. So reframing leadership in La Sombra del Viento.
La sombra del viento. Yeah, it's one of my
Fantastic.
best.
So before we continue, let's appreciate the Teach Better community.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at www.teachbetterpodcastnetwork.com. Now let's get back to the episode.
So, Anna, who is or who are your biggest influences?
Definitely my mother. She's my biggest influencer. She's now 95. She raised 8 children, all professionals, little money. She cleaned stores. She sold women and men clothing in Venezuela mainland. She went to the mainland and then, she knocked doors by doors and she was a clothing, seller. She also was a nurse by training in her hometown before she got married. She worked in a rural clinic for 23 years. Right now, that small town gave her name to the clinic. Right, she has that honor. And then my mother, at the age of 90, she decided that she wanted to record a CD of boleros.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that is in YouTube. Her name is Melusina, and the name of the CD is Melusina with S. Melusina 90 años. So you have 12 boleros, and she did that because she wanted to teach us, her children, particularly the 6 girls, how to sing. We sing. I'm coming from a family from her side, a family of musicians. We have tremendas parrandas, in our home. Christmas is a great place to be, and my mother sings. My mother now is 95, and with COVID, unfortunately, just protecting her so much, but at the end, she contracted COVID, and she has a very, she lost memory because she was not vaccinated. So when I go, sometimes she's very clear and she knows who I am and all those things, and then she loves music, and we put her CD and we said, "Mom, do you know who is singing?" And she said, "I don't know, but she sings beautifully." So, and I said, "Do you know those songs?" "Yeah, I know all of them," because it seems like, music is something that you don't lose. Yeah. My second big influencer is my son, Julian Serafin. My son is a truly humanitarian. He preferred not to make any money, and he went to the School for International Training in Vermont. He graduated in non-for-profit organizations, and then and he has devoted his time and his effort to help others. He has worked with Doctors Without Borders. He has worked with Save the Children. Right now, he is with the United Nations. He has been in natural disasters, pandemics. Ebola is one. COVID war zones like Afghanistan, Syria. He has been in displaced communities in African countries. He had a master's degree in environmental management, and because of that, he specializes in water. So when he traveled with those humanitarian groups, he makes sure that the water that is going to be consumed is clean, and just to avoid pandemics, with the consumption of bad water. So right now he's in Kenya. He's in but his work has always been as a volunteer. Even though he has the degrees, and having a degree in environmental management, that right now that could be, making a lot of money, but no, that's not it. And I appreciate him because he taught me what I know about humanitarian issues. And, Julian has had challenges, mental challenges, because when you are exposed to those difficult conditions, and you really feel like from your heart you wanted to help more, but you can't. So that really impacts somehow who you are in terms of your mental health. But he's my hero, right?
Beautiful. Thank you so much, and best wishes to Julian and your mom. Um, let's talk about that thing that is called imposter syndrome. Sometimes we feel that we are not good enough, not smart enough, not tall enough, and not
I
enough.
know. I
Um,
know.
how do you address that?
Well, the imposter syndrome, I think it has always been present in my professional life, no matter what. I think it coming to the United States, um, assess who I am. That was really an assessment of who I was, and as a faculty in higher education, the system made me believe that I needed to perform higher than anybody else. That because of my minority condition, because of my accent when speaking, because of my second language use when writing, I really need to be in the highest level of performance. Then I felt that I was inadequate many times in my performance, although I knew and that I have provided the best of me. I knew that I had been confirmed by external viewers, that what I delivered was correct. But this condition of wanting to be more because I was assessing myself in the other direction really make me feel like I was a fraud, that I was doubting all the time of my abilities. Um, although I believe that my professional life has been very fulfilling, with success at many levels, that success really has had a high cost. And I agree that imposter syndrome is a mental health condition, definitely, that affect people like me, that affect high achievers, the perfectionist of my side, who are not able to accept failures. And because I am not able to accept failures, then I push myself to the edge that it has to happen. You see, and regardless of my time with my family, and regardless about this, and regardless, this is something that is have to happen. I made it happen, but at what cost? You see, so I'm always thinking that this that I needed to do better because that was not good enough. The imposter syndrome is could be very toxic sometimes, and could be and people can use this as excuse for failing, but I believe it's an actual mental health problem. Lately I've been devoting my time to be trained in mental health issues, um, uh, and I'm doing that because we have an arriving new immigrant communities, and they are bringing many issues like that, and I believe that if I can help, I will. But going back to that imposter syndrome, yeah, that has been with me, my bad companion for many years, and still.
It's interesting that you mention, because this question might be answered differently from someone who is not a minority in a country that has, in many ways, different expectations. If you have
Mhm.
an accent, if you look in a different way,
Right.
if you are female, um, and it gives you almost a pressure that you have to put everything in your personal life to the side and focus so internally just to level up with the people that might not have to do those sacrifices. Thank you
Right.
for mentioning that. It's very important. What advice do you have for those people that perhaps shouldn't do the same, of focusing only in their careers and ignoring the rest?
This issue of when you think that you are a fraud is because you have done so much that you still believe that there is something that is lacking. And you think about more and more, and you know that it's perfect, but still you don't think it's perfect. I think that my advice could be to anyone that is going through this perfectionist, or that believe that there is something missing, even though you know that there's nothing missing. Is just believe in what you did. You are the only expert. So, and if you know how to teach bilingual in the classroom, you are the expert. Believe in that. We have to learn to believe, because that will really ease your mental perfectionist side, and you can be more relaxed in what you do.
Beautiful.
Because one of the things about having this syndrome, the imposter syndrome, is that um, everywhere that you go, you really think that you are in this theater that you have to perform at a higher level, and you are the protagonist of the movie. But sometimes secondary um, positions in a movie, those do great as well.
Yes.
So, and I
I
think
love it. I love that you said learn to believe. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Let's talk a little bit about your productivity. As you know, being successful includes being on top of our productivity, but this means different things for different people.
right.
How does Ana Gil Garcia get organized to ensure that things get done?
You're gonna laugh, I pray. I still do my to-do list.
Yeah, oh, me too. Me too. Tell us about your like literally walk us through your to-do list process. How
Oh
does
my
it look
God,
like?
every morning, the first thing that I do when I go to my office is, I create my to-do list for today. And then I check my to-do list from yesterday to see how many things I did not complete. And then I transfer those into my to-do list today. And I just start with those that I didn't complete the day before. Those could be, I classify them, by the way. I classify them by the things in my work, my personal, and then my non-for-profit life. So I do that, and that's for me. And then I cross, the things, and I feel
Yeah.
this a good feeling, when you have all those.
Boom. It's a dopamine rush.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. It is me leading educators. You'd be surprised of how many have no clue about how good it is to develop your to-do list, so you have more bandwidth to
Right.
do what is meaningful, instead of thinking, oh, did I have to do this, I had to do that, and I'm wondering what to do. And tell us about your calendar. Do you have a manual calendar? Do you do it
No, I do
digitally?
use email, and I'm going to tell you, I do email because I preserve a copy for documentation purposes.
Okay.
I've learned that sooner than later, because yeah, just when you're sending a letter to the staff, when you're sending a message, I keep track of all that, because it's very, and sometimes it could happen with technology. You never know if the person received the email, if the email really went into the junk, those things, and I keep track of that. So
I
that's
see.
the reason that my best calendar is that, just and I create folders, folders, and I put those in folders, and and
I
I, and
see.
I think it has worked for me. Right.
So for someone that travels so long and you spend large amount of time in different countries, talk to us about the productivity side of that. How do you organize, I don't know, your bills, your home, the things that you left behind to go and spend time in another place? Like, what advice do you have for those that might be going on their first long away trip in their lives?
I have those phone calls, by the way, people who are going with a Fulbright, for example, and they said, "Oh, I'm going to the Middle East, and so what should I do? Should I rent my house, or and I said, don't do that. If you, because how long are you going to go? If you're going for 6 months, that doesn't make any sense, just to rent your house, especially because the Fulbright scholarship, talking about Fulbright, is a very generous scholarship. They really treat you very well. And then you will have enough money just to keep, your rent here and there. And
I see.
so one of the things, just learning the system, it's not the same to keep track of your bank account here in the United States than in another country, right? So because in another country you have to go inside at the bank, and then you have to do this line. Being in this line, you don't have the access. But right now things have changed a lot. You will find ATM machines and things like that many years ago, you couldn't find that. Yes, you has to be very aware that you have expenses here in the country and you have expenses in the other side. So just keeping your, for me, I keep everything in recurring payments.
Okay.
So I keep track through my banks, the bank here and the bank there. I make sure that before I leave, I have the electricity is in there. The payment for my car is in there. Everything is through my bank, so that I don't have to rely in anybody that I may not have here in town, to make any payment for me. So,
Makes sense.
but it takes a little bit of organizing all your bills in one bank, no multiple banks, because then you will go crazy. But just in one, and then from that point, when you're there, then you organize your life there in a similar manner. You don't really have to be just going nuts, in paying here, paying there. When you
Yeah,
have a system that is going to allow you, just to do that recurrent.
makes sense. Um, Anna, when as an author of books, tell us about what do you do when you write? Do you listen to music? Do you put candles? And what advice do you have for those that would like to write?
Efrain, you know that I wrote my dissertation with boleros.
Did you?
Yeah,
Wow.
I put, and believe me, people say, "How could you do that?" And I said, you know, I, by that time when I graduated, that
Mhm.
was not, the technology for now, right? I had my headphones
Mhm.
and I put my cassette, and there was all these boleros, and I was typing, thinking about what I was writing and singing.
Wow. Your
And
brain must be huge.
I don't know about that, but I'm going to tell you, music has always been with me when I'm writing. And it doesn't matter. It could be instrumental music, or could be music that I like to sing along with. But music is part of my writing system. Um, by the way, I'm at the beginning of writing another book with somebody that you know very well,
Hmm.
Dr. Carlos Ascoitia.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah, we're working
Carlos.
together in a community leadership book. So,
Wow, wow.
we were at the beginning. We had met, and we have agreed in the outline. So so we have our target is April next year. So
Wow.
you will hear from us.
Yeah, Carlos was my dissertation
I
advisor,
know.
absolutely, and such an esteemed scholar. Uh, do you still write with boleros, or has something changed?
Well, I like boleros. Boleros was instilled in my body, by my mother and my family, and I believe that, of course, there are some boleros that I like more than some others, and if I know the lyrics, it's even
Hmm.
better, because then I'm singing, and I'm not thinking about, the bolero. I'm thinking about, what I'm writing, because I know the lyrics without even forcing myself,
Wow,
to think about that.
beautiful. So when, like Shakespeare, when the live theater, the curtain closes and you take off the hat of professor, administrator, humanitarian, what does Anna do for fun?
Oh, I do. I do Pilates. I learned
Ooh,
that. I do that three days a week. That put me in a situation for 1 hour that I don't think about anything else. My brain is blank, and I enjoy doing that. I found that as my niche 2 years ago. I have never been somebody very disciplined about myself in terms of exercising. Because I was going to a gym and I said, how boring this is. It was something like, it never was with me. I like to walk. I do walk and I enjoy walking. But then somebody said to me, have you tried Pilates? I said, no. And I said, well, this is okay. Well, I'm going to go and just see. But that was immediately, I said, this is for
wow.
me because I have somebody that is guiding me in what to do. and
Okay.
and they are and they are very just telling me put your foot in this way, and your feet, there is really the attention is what I needed. And I
Wow.
found that with Pilates. The other thing that I love to do is I enjoy the peace of my home. Fridays, you can invite me any other day to do anything, but please do not do that on Fridays,
On
because
Friday.
Friday for me is my house. I come home and it's something like, okay, it's my time for a vinito, and I put a movie in, and I watch a movie, and then just easy. I dine on my own, um, and then and I go to bed. For me, something like this is my time,
Luxury.
my private time, and my time
Mhm.
that I don't make any phone calls. I don't pick up the phone on Fridays evenings. So you won't find me Friday evening.
Friday is sacred day. I like that.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Anna, this has been such a great time learning from your wisdom and productivity. Any last thoughts for the listeners and viewers of the show?
One of my passions is my work for communities, and you know that, right? I've been in this for many years, and particularly communities in need. I really like to, I really like the listeners to know that when I founded the Illinois Venezuelan Alliance in 2016 for humanitarian reasons, to ship humanitarian aid to Venezuela because of this dramatic crisis, humanitarian crisis that is being considered by the United Nations, the most serious crisis in Latin American ever. So, but then sooner than later, I realized this past year, August 2022, that they were here. So I didn't need to ship any more humanitarian aid there because I needed to reframe the humanitarian aid internally. So um, I really like to thank. I'm very grateful to the city of Chicago. I'm very grateful to the Cook County. I'm very grateful to the state of Illinois because the response given to this community, especially 80% of them are Venezuelans. Only 20% are coming from other countries. Right now, there are 12,000 new immigrants in the city, sleeping in the streets, sleeping in police stations, sleeping in 14 shelters. Humanely, they have the city of Chicago has done an extraordinary work. I believe that we are learning as we go. I don't think that the city or any city was ready for this, and any mistakes needed to happen because that's the only way that now you start doing things that you didn't do last September.
Yeah.
So my gratitude to all communities, guatemaltecos, salvadoreños, mexicanos, the people from here. They go to shelters, they bring food, they bring clothes. This is a very, very, very generous country and city,
Wow.
and I'm very grateful for that.
Wow. Anna, Thank you for, after putting the mask in others. That is always needed, and people like you make this world better.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Efrain.
Thank you so much for your time and dedication. And this has been a great time.
Oh, yeah, great time for me too. Yeah. And so good to see you, Efrain.
Oh, the same. Absolutely. Un abrazo
Un abrazo
and
grande. Bye.
have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom and Productivity, the podcast of Dr. Efrain Martinez.
Chulo.
And as of that production, chill out.